Welcome, everybody, to a very special edition of Trunk Nation here from Los Angeles, from the SiriusXM garage. As you can hear, we have a fantastic studio audience here, and they have all gathered to listen to Megadeth both perform live for us and also answer some questions. The band's got a brand new record called The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead that is out this Friday. And we're going to talk to the guys and let some of the audience that has joined us here in the studio also ask some questions, which I have on cards and that I will read to them. But let me introduce the guys to get us started. And, I'll start with, from my left, right around, returning to Megadeth on bass guitar, Mr. James Lomenzo. Good to see you, James.
Hey, good to see you, my friend.
The man himself right next to James in the center, Mr. Dave Mustaine. Good to see you, Dave. Guitarist Kiko Loriero. Kiko, good to see you. And on the end, holding down the drums, Dirk Verburen. What's up, Dirk? So, Dave, congratulations on the record. It sounds incredible. I've had a chance to listen to it, and it's vicious, man. It is vicious. You know, I was thinking about this. A lot of bands, especially metal bands, as they get older, tend to, dial it back a little bit, maybe go for the commercial ring a little bit more. You went all out on this record, man. It's an amazing record. Can you talk a little bit about your approach when you started writing this record and making this record, and if that was something that was calculated or it's just the way it came out?
Sure. Thank you guys for being here, and thank you for your questions in advance. I appreciate you saying it's vicious, because while we were doing this, there was a lot of emotional lightning going through the studio, through the performers, and we had issues with me getting and beating cancer, and then lineup stuff, and then the pandemic and all of the stuff happening with the world basically shutting down. Every time we would have something that we needed to get shipped to us, some solid state issue, something that had any kind of a chip or a circuitry board, it was not coming. It's sitting out in the fucking Long Beach port forever, So it took us a long time to make this record, and I think part of that was the inspiration. The angst I had for, come on, man, let these guys open the port up, let the friggin' boats come in, get this going. On the outside looking in, I'm no genius, but I could see the solution to this is pretty easy. Let them in, right? And then then we're starting to get back to normal, but the money that they make is such an exorbitant amount of money keeping those guys parked off of the coastline, and it's just more stuff, more big money, more of Big Brother, more of all the stuff that makes us struggle so hard. And I like to document that struggle in the record. There's a lot of stuff like my weird, twisted way of giving advice, and there's only a couple of songs in there that were not real experiences.
What are the origins of coming off of Dystopia, the material on this record? When did you first start thinking about making this record? How many years back does it go?
Well, I met Kiko in 2016. Was it 2016, 2015? 2015.
15.
Yeah, I guess it's longer than it's been. Just kidding.
Kiko is smiling for those in the radio land.
Yeah, I'm smiling too. So, a lot of the riffs that we did on Dystopia, if they weren't the right riff for a song at the time, it either went away forever or it was archived. And I have a bunch of drives at my house that have guitar riffs from all the way back in the very beginning. And some of it is stuff that was recorded on micro cassettes. Some of it was me calling up my phone at night next to my bed and going, my wife wakes up and she sees me, and it's just like the fucking insurance commercial. Who's Gary? Is Gary wearing slacks? No, honey, he's not. He's really, naked.
Really, honey, I'm just writing songs. That's really what I'm doing.
Yeah, but I really did that, and so the stockpile of riffs are many, and the beauty of it was we would just go listen to stuff and pick up the stuff we liked, and then Kiko would say, "Oh, I got something that kind of would work with that." And once we got in the studio and started assembling all the parts, it was kind of like metal Lego. We realized there were a couple of parts that needed to be written on the spot, and some of those were parts that Kiko and I would come up with. Our producer, who co-produced the record with me, is a gentleman named Chris Rickstar, was here earlier. And Chris makes suggestions too. He's very knowledgeable about my guitar style and how to coax a better performance out of me. And now that James is back, unfortunately, he returned after the songwriting and the recording was done. But he's already got a track record with us that's proven of great playing. So believe it or not, we're already talking today even about, what's next. Not what's the next record, but, what's next? Let's really go for it this time. Let's not just sit back and wait.
I want to talk a little bit about this lineup right now, but bringing in Kiko into the conversation. Kiko, Dystopia was your first record you recorded with the band,
Yes,
right?
yes.
So now, album number 2, with this new record, I would imagine you, having had a bunch of touring under your belt and already one studio experience with Dave, a lot more comfortable and a lot more maybe involved in the writing. You have a bunch of co-writes on here as well, right?
Yeah, that's correct. Of course, like touring, we did, I don't know, maybe over 200 concerts, and getting to know you guys, different countries, different, cultures, different places. Yeah, you learn a lot about the band, about Dave, Dirk, James, and then you feel confident to present ideas, right, that fits to the band. So that's why so many collaborations.
Yeah, the guitar interplay in Megadeth, no matter who the other guitar players was with Dave, has always been so important to the sound and to the band. And Dave, obviously, Kiko wouldn't have the gig if you didn't feel he was the right guy. But how has the playing between the two of you evolved in the years that he's been in the band to the point where it's culminated on this record?
I think a lot of that had to do with my being willing to open up my songwriting process to allow another player to get inside that circle. There's my songwriting process, and then there's his, and then what we do together. And sometimes I don't want anybody coming into my songwriting process and changing a riff. I came in on the record that Johnny K did. It was before Dystopia. I think it was Super Collider. And I came in one morning, and Johnny K was in there, a song named Kingmaker. Kingmaker was done, and I came in there, and I heard Ellefson and Johnny K in there recording a part on the beginning of the song. And it was nothing to do with the song. It had nothing. The riff wasn't in the record anywhere. And I came in and I said, "What are you two doing?" Trying to explain, I'm going to fucking poach your song, and I'm going to put one of my riffs in the front of the song. And it was so pathetic. I just felt so sorry for the two of them. I just said, go ahead, leave it in there. But if you listen to Kingmaker tonight when you go home, you're going to hear the beginning of the song. There's a really dumbass part there, and that's it.
Well, let's listen to a song that you're going to play live for us right now that originally appeared on Cryptic Writings, and that's Trust, which has become a very big song for the band over the decades since it's been made. As we've told you, this interview and this special, we're going to go back and forth between the guys playing live for you here in the studio and also taking some questions, and we do have some questions from the audience as well. So much more to talk about with Megadeth, but before we get to more questions, how about we hear a little music, right? And fire it up right now. Here's Megadeth from the SiriusXM studios in Los Angeles, from the garage, performing Trust.
something to me. When I say trust me, can't believe this is true. Trust hurts. Much trust equals suffering.
So the interplay we talked a little bit about between Dave and Kiko just before the song. The new guy returning to the band is Mr. James Lomenzo over here. And Dave, you talked about a second ago that James didn't come in time to play on the record. But can you talk about you faced a lot of issues making this record, your health, which we'll get to in a second, COVID, everything that went on. But the situation with bass, letting David Ellison go, bringing in Steve DiGiorgio to record on the record, and then bringing James back into the fold once again. How difficult was all that on the record?
Well, I don't really like talking about him anymore. As much as I can't. I like telling the funny stories, but I really don't like talking about that part of things because the guy that I know and love was a different person, and making the change to Steve, we needed to do that. We needed to do that for so many reasons. On the outside looking in, there were a few people that were, saying that I did the wrong thing, but I'm sorry. I just, for my personal convictions, I just couldn't have that around us. And even if it wasn't true, I just didn't want that in my life. And when Steve came in, he was a wonderful breath of fresh air because he could play the parts. The parts that were on the record that were there. I did an interview recently, and the girl says, "Why did you change Dave's parts?" And I thought, you can't be that stupid. I have to change the parts. I didn't say that to her, but I was thinking that, and I said, first off, the majority of the bass on the record I played, and it's demo tracks. We didn't have all the record recorded yet. When I was in my studio with Chris Rakestraw, I'm writing the guitar parts. I picked up the bass and plunked along with it. I mean, it wasn't terrific, but it was the parts. So when anybody came in to record the parts, whether it was Steve or Dave, the parts were already written and recorded. So the part about Giorgio coming in, it was cool because there was just so much bad going on at the time. It just seemed like the record was going to keep getting delayed and delayed and delayed. But I believe there's a spiritual vacuum in my life, and that whenever things get really bad, there's a breakthrough ready to happen. And I know that when things get bad like that, it's kind of a challenge from the universe to see if I'm going to stop living my life on the right side of things. You know, if I'm going to start trying to force things to happen again. And that's not who I am anymore. I think right now we're sitting on some of the best years ahead of us ever. I mean, I feel great. I think I'm playing really well. My relationships with most of the people in my life are really doing good. And I think that the band's trajectory has just continued to go upward.
Well, as people can hear, and they just heard Trust, and you're going to hear some more Megadeth played for us live exclusively here on Trunk Nation. I mean, the band sounds unbelievable. James, I want you to jump in here. Full disclosure, James and I are old friends. We go back to like 86 together. We go way, way back. But for people that don't know, prior to rejoining Megadeth, James, you were playing with John Fogerty, who is a legend, of course, in his own right, but I imagine quite a change to go from playing with Fogerty to getting back into this world playing metal with Megadeth.
Well, I did a number of things along with playing with John Fogerty, but John Fogerty was a gig that, you know, came up every weekend, if not 2 weeks at a time. So, you know, I'd run out and do that. But the main thing about that is when Dave called up and asked, we'd love you to come back to Megadeth and help us get through this tour that's coming up. I had a lot of trepidation because, you know, my gig there was kind of staying in one place and kind of playing half-tempo stuff for quite some time. So, you know, I had to actually put up an old YouTube video of something we did in San Diego and took a look. And I remember being kind of shocked and going, oh, my God, I've got to get on that horse again. Okay, here we go. Settle up, partner, you know. So, but, man, I got to tell you, you know what? I'm feeling younger now than I have in the last 9 years. You know, metal's just kicked me right in the ass, and playing with these stallions, you know, here we go. It's just amazing. It really is. I think that this is got to be the strongest Megadeth band. I'm not talking about, you know, musical performance, even though they all have that, but just as far as just like a bulldozer coming at you, I think you know, if you've seen us in concert lately or after that last song, you'll see, like, these guys are thoroughbreds, each and every one.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but the previous time that you were in Megadeth, Dirk wasn't the drummer, right? Did you play? Was Dirk?
I played with Sean Drover.
Right. So Dirk, what's it like working with James now coming in as a bit? I mean, you guys got to be locked in, obviously, bass and drums.
We have no choice, man. You know. No, but seriously though, I mean, James, it was instant. Like I remember actually the first time James came around, we had a little bit of time before the first rehearsal to just kind of do the drum and bass thing, you know, the rhythm section thing. And it was just like, it just felt natural, like from the first song. It was like, okay, this is good, we got this. And that's just, you know, all the experience, all the years of doing what he's done and having been in Megadeth before. There you go. You know.
Yeah. Is it like getting on a bike, James? You
don't forget? It's like falling off that favorite bike of yours. It really is. I'll expand on that. You know, we got in the studio, and you know, we were gonna, you know, he was on the platform, you know, and I looked up and said, all right, let's do Holy Wars, and like, and I was like, what the, you know, and I looked up and I said, what is going on up there? But he is such a solid, strong drummer that it almost seems like all I got to do is hit my pick at the right time, and I'm fine. You know what I mean? I think he makes me sound a lot better.
And when James says Dirk is up on that riser, he's up there because you're up there, man. You take an elevator up to that riser sometimes, Dirk? You are up there, man.
I'd like to get one, you know, for the days when I'm a bit tired. No, but it's awesome. I have like the best view in the house. Yeah. And, you know, and I get to like stand up there and yeah, it's awesome.
It is awesome. I want to ask you about the title of the record because I understand there's a lot of people that are misinterpreting the title, maybe thinking that it has something to do with COVID, which of course was done during the making of the record, when in reality it goes back way further than that. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Sure. Just like I mentioned with the girl that had asked the ridiculous questions about taking bass parts on and off, somebody had said that, was the title about COVID? And I thought, oh my God, it's my day today. And it's not. If you listen to the lyrics, first off, the lyrics talk and tells you the timeline. And if you look at the title itself and you're going to be not willing to go any deeper than that, sure, it could be about that, but it's probably a little easy to tell that it's not when you look at the artwork, and it's from old England in the 17th century or 16th century, whatever. COVID wasn't around then, so it was the Black Plague.
So did you? I guess it's kind of like when you think about it, you name the record, people could look at this as not only COVID, but you yourself with the health scare that you went through, having cancer and dealing with that. I mean, there's in retrospect, a lot of things that title could be applied to, I would think. And speaking of your health, how are you now, and are you good?
Well, I'm still a little mental, but as far as the cancer, I'm 100% clean, and it's going to be 3 years. I think in October. I think it's the 19th. But that. Thank you, guys. Thank you, and I appreciate all your support. I could tell when I was going through this, I felt like I wasn't alone, and I'm not saying there was a magic elf on my fireplace or anything, but I could tell. And it was great to see how my story inspired other people too, because there's so many of us that, at some point in our life we're going to contract some kind of an illness, some kind of a difficulty that we're going to go through, and as long as you have someone to help you get through it, it's like they say, a burden shared is a burden lessened, and I try to be as understanding as I can about people who talk to me about having cancer, because I'm not going to say I got off easy, but I mean, realistically, I got off easy. I found it early. I was very aggressive. I subjected myself to the most ferocious program that they could do, and I don't really think my being a celebrity had much to do with the outcome, because the medicine's the same medicine for you and for me. I went in there with an attitude like everything else. I'm going to fucking kill you, cancer.
And you did. So that's awesome to hear. Without getting too detailed on it, I think it's really important because all of us are getting older and all of us have to be aware of things like this. You said that there was early detection for you, which worked to your benefit. Mm-hmm. Could you talk about what your symptoms were? Maybe
Sure.
People listening and what have you that might...
Sure. When we all heard about Bruce getting sick in Iron Maiden, that was a scary thing because, I haven't heard anybody getting that type of cancer before. It was cancer that originates on men in the tongue area and in the back, in the throat. So head, neck, and throat cancer is particularly dangerous because all the goods are up here, And when I went in to do the radiation, that was really a frightening process. But leading up to that, I had so many things happen. It just made me so angry. I went to the dentist. This is how the whole thing happened. Something happened. Got a tooth fixed. A couple weeks later, still hurting. I go in, tell the guy my tooth's still hurting. We have to go out on the Jimi Hendrix Experience tour. I'm out there, and my tooth's hurting, and it's hurting, and I don't do good with dental pain. I don't. I saw Marathon Man, and I got to be damn near knocked out just to get teeth cleaning. It's just is it safe? Is it safe? I don't do good with that. So I went to an oral surgeon because the dentist said I can't find anything. And I go on, I'm seeing the oral surgeon. He checks me out. He goes in the next room, and I swear it was probably around 20 to 30 minutes before I got up. And I was like, dude, what's up with you? Come on. And he goes, oh, I'll be right in. And I go back and I sit down. He comes in. He goes, oh, you got the big C.
Like that.
And I was thinking, what is that? Halitosis? No, that's an H. What? Cavity? Do I got a big cavity? And I got up and I walked out to my car and I sat in my car and I just had tears coming down my face because I couldn't comprehend that I had cancer now. Now, I wasn't sad. I wasn't hurt. I was fucking pissed. I was mad at him the way that he told me.
Yeah, that's not great bedside manner for a doctor.
No,
Yeah,
I know where his dental office is, and if there's ever a giant crater over by the Galleria, you know what happened. Yeah. So when we went back out onto the Hendrix thing, prior to that, someone had looked and said, "No, you're fine." So I went in there really, just fat, dumb, and happy. What's in my mouth? Cancer. So when we went to go see the doctors, they gave me 31 doses of radiation and 9 doses of chemotherapy, and they were really, really, really close together. The tumor was on this side. The 2 lymph nodes down here were both affected by it, and it's only supposed to be one. So there were all kinds of weird anomalies happening. And probably the hardest part of it was just getting the mask. When they put you into the radiation, the machine, you have to have your head locked down, because if they're using a laser to melt stuff inside of your body and you're going like this, you're better off not even going. So I'm sitting in there and I'm freaking out because I have claustrophobia. And I'm going, is that the machine that goes when you go in there for a CAT scan? Or
MRI,
yeah. Yeah. So I didn't know what it was going to do. And they get this mask thing and get it all wet. It's this plastic material, and they slopped it on my face and laid me back and clamped it all down. And I'm sitting there and I'm going, what are you guys doing? How long is this going to take? And they go, 15 minutes. I'm saying, 15 what? Yeah. And then all of a sudden I feel this drip of water go, plink, right into my ear hole. And it was like Chinese water torture. I was dying. I said, you have to get me out of here. So the next time I went back, fortunately, they had a different approach. And everything after that was great. The side effects were terrible. My mouth is badly damaged. I can't eat spicy stuff anymore, and I loved spicy stuff. And, wasabi, hot sauce, all that stuff, done. There's other stuff that comes along with it too, but I'm still here. I think I made the best record of my career. At this point, at 60 years old, to be writing music like this, it's quite a stretch, because I think about some of my other peers, like Tony and some of the other guys that are a little bit older, and think about their guitar playing. Think about the guys I know that have gotten sick, like Glenn, and he's got Parkinson's, right?
Who's this?
Tipton.
Yes.
Yeah, it was Parkinson's.
Yes,
right?
Parkinson's.
Yeah. We saw him at the show in Barcelona. It was San Sebastian. It was Barcelona. Yeah, I can't said that like 3 times today. So detecting it early and getting on it was great. You guys and men, if you're getting up in age, they say 45 years old or older, you need to start getting yourself checked out. But I think that the ladies here too should, be proactive. There's a lot of stuff in the environment, in the air, in the water, in our food, and it's getting harder every day for us to get the nutrients that we need in our food. So if you have a good relationship with your doctor, go get a physical, get a checkup, make sure you don't have something dormant in your life lying there. I was lucky because I had insurance. If I didn't have insurance, Megadeth would probably be over.
Real quick on this, Dave, one other thing. Did it impact your singing at all? Because having just heard you sing, you sound great, but you mentioned Bruce Dickinson, who also went through this, and I saw Bruce sing a 2-hour set, and he had told me his only issue was he kept getting dry. He had to have water, bottles of water all over the stage.
So much, yeah.
Is that the same
Yeah,
issue
I
with
wake
you?
up and part of the, to go along with my happy dose of claustrophobia, I developed insomnia too. So I can't sleep more than about an hour and a half to 3 hours at a shake, and it's usually because I'll be sleeping and I'll just start mouth breathing, and then everything gets so dry I actually wake up because I can't swallow, and I'm feeling that. So I have to take medicine for that, and we have special gum, and there's drinks everywhere. So that's one of the things. When they nuke your mouth, all those little saliva glands that are in there all die off, and they may return. They may, but probably don't. And for me, they haven't. So. But I see progress every day, Eddie, because when I first finished my treatment, that was my my stepping off point where I started to measure things. I was having the worst memory issues. I couldn't remember. I would start talking and I couldn't remember what I was talking about. So it was really hard. But I got through it, and it was, like I said, just please go get checked up if you think you need it.
Yeah, it's important for everybody to know that, especially as we all get older. Okay, so let's do another song. We got another song for the guys to play, and this is another classic that everybody knows and loves. It's a staple of the live set from Countdown to Extinction. Megadeth are now going to perform for us here on Trunk Nation, Symphony of Destruction.
Take a mortal man and put him in control. Watch him become a god. Watch people as a role. Acting like a robot. His metal green corrodes. You try to take his balls. Roll for the hair explodes. Start the rumble. Willpower spot. Warring for the heavens. A peaceful man stands
At the time we're doing this, there are 3 songs already released, 2 of which have very elaborate, very intense, amazing music videos. I'm assuming a third one, it seems like it's a sequence that's being rolled out. Dave, can you talk about the videos a little bit and the concept behind them?
Well, the third song that's been released was Soldier On. Soldier On was going to be the first track that was going to be released, period. And we had the opportunity to work with this fascinating director down in Brazil, and his producer is one of our staff, and we had done the Conquer or Die and Lying in State video on the last record. And I loved their work so much. When the opportunity came to do a video again with these guys, I said, yeah, I want you to do 3 of them. And I have this idea. So we started talking about telling the story and having it in a book form. And part 1 is the first 3 songs, part 2 is the second 3 songs, and so on. I don't know if we were going to go any further than that, but the first part has the 2 songs that you've already seen, We'll Be Back and Night Stalker. And the third song from part 1 will be The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead. Soldier On came out on its own as our approach towards radio, and these other tracks weren't really supposed to have seen the light of day yet. But the reaction to that first track kind of milked out the songs and made them come a little early. You know, I think that the way things are lined up with the schedule, Soldier On is number 6. I think it's the closing track in the book. But again, you know, you never know. There might be a part 3.
Dave, long before you played with any of the 3 guys you're playing with now, music video was such a huge part of Megadeth's story. The early days of MTV, you were a staple on MTV, so many iconic music videos. When you were first approached about doing music videos very early on, did you embrace the concept? It seems like you did, judging by the quality of the work, but were you into doing videos, or did you go into it initially reluctantly?
You know, when we first started Megadeth, MTV was still a music channel, and I was watching it ever since. They had Pat Benatar and the Buggles, and even Iron Maiden, a lot of 38 Special.
Triumph and Billy Squier.
Yeah, a lot of songs that, you know, you wouldn't see played anywhere anymore. But, you know, I would listen to MTV a lot. So the idea when the first video came along, it hadn't really registered to me what we were doing. You know, because the first video we did was for P-Cells. We'd gone out to L'Amour's in Brooklyn, and I remember us filming. That show was so energized because Gar was out there back when Gar was in the band. That's one of the things I love so much about Dirk playing with us, because he plays so much like Gar, and I feel like we've been given a transfusion of all the energy and good blood from the very beginning again, and you know, listening to him play is so much like Gar. It's mesmerizing sometimes to just close my eyes and listen. So anyways, about the video, I remember we'd just gotten a box of Nike shoes given to us from the record label at the time, and somebody had asked us about, you know, what record labels were like back then, and I feel like I can say this because the statute of limitations has expired, but, you know, I'd gone to the label, and there was a guy working there at the time, and his name was Champagne Ray, and he opens up his refrigerator, and he had champagne, of course. You know, good thing it wasn't, you know, Ray with little children. And then we got this box of shoes. And I thought, this can't get any more bizarre. We go to the next office, and the guy opens up his desk, and there's lines of blow. And I thought, all right, now this is like totally Willy Wonka here. And so that was a really weird period when a lot of that stuff was happening. And going to make videos, we were just like, this is all like you're in Oz or something, you know. When we did the second video we did was for Wake of Dead, that was a disaster for the airport here at Burbank. We'd come and done our video, and the next morning the caretakers for the airport had looked, and a bunch of you lovelies had gone out there and spray painted my band's name on the planes. And yeah, that really messed with the band's insurance for quite some time. But it looked good on the planes, I gotta say.
You had a private jet before you even knew you had one, right? On the side of the plane.
Yeah.
You know, you talk about filming P-Cells at L'Amour's in Brooklyn. James may have painted the walls. He may have been working at L'Amour's that day.
Yeah, he was probably.
Because James grew up coming out of that club, too, as a member of White Lion back in the day.
Book of Job.
our friends George and Mike Parente and the
Yeah.
whole old Lemoore crew. Those were some great memories back then.
They had some great memories of Megadeth. They used to tell us the tale of how you guys just destroyed the place.
But James, how did they pronounce Megadeth? They didn't say Megadeth.
It's Megadeth.
There you go. Megadeth is playing this weekend. You know what? Speaking of Peace Sells, what a perfect time to set you guys up to play that one for us live right now. So let's do it right now, live from the SiriusXM garage in Los Angeles. Here is Megadeth performing one of the all-time classics, Peace Sells, but who's buying?
Your system, I could call when I have to. You mean I can't get the work done? Got nothing better to do. What do you mean I don't pay my bills? Why do you think I'm broke? We hear you sing. That was cool. You mean I hurt your feelings? You know you had any feelings. You mean I'm not kind? Just not your kind. You mean I couldn't be the president of the United States of America? Tell me something. It's still waiting for people like sing louder.
Dave, I'm interested in how Ice-T had a part in the record. He's got a great part in, I forget which track it is. Night Stalkers. Tell me about your relationship with Ice-T and how he got to be on this record.
Well, Ice and I have been friends for a little while now. I met him back when I was managed by Littman and Kahane, and that's back when we did the Rest in Peace record. And we were up in the head manager's office, and we were standing next to Rob Kahane's desk. And there's a famous story about the singer from the Nymphs being upset with him and standing on his desk and...
Oh, is that right?
I think her name was Gretchen or something like that. As the singer for the Nymphs or the Pixies or something like that. But she relieved herself on his desk, and I'm sitting there telling Ice, I said, yeah, you're probably touching it right now. But then, you know, we talked a little bit about him being a ranger and in the military, and it was interesting because it was right at the time when Cop Killer came out and there was all that controversy going around. But I had really liked Ice before I knew who the artist was that had done the song he did. He'd done the song Colors. And I thought that was a great song. It was so good. 6 in the Morning's another great song, too. But when he'd asked me if I would do something on a song called Civil War on their last record, and I know we did something together before that. It just skips my mind right now. And then after the Civil War track, I played on that, and I wrote a little bit of the lyric on that. It became clear to us from Night Stalker we needed a voiceover that was going to be really commandeering, kind of scary voice like we had on Captive Honor. And I was thinking, you know, who can I get that would have a voice that sounds like, in my mind, this is the character. Lou Gossett Jr. from Officer and a Gentleman, right after Richard Gere got kicked in the balls and said, I have nowhere else to go. That's the guy that I wanted to be, you know, yelling, you know, get ready, bitches. Here, I got locked and loaded. So when it came back, it was absolutely perfect. He asked me if I wanted him to sing it, and I said, no. Mm-mm. I want you to be like Colonel Kretz from Apocalypse Now. You know, just that disturbed dude. You know?
And he's got such an identifiable voice, and he's in the video, too.
Yeah.
You got him to be in the video, which is really cool.
Yeah.
Speaking of videos, before we get to another song, you know, when I was talking about classic videos a second ago, I saw everybody else in the band kind of smile. And I'm curious, starting with you, Dirk, on the end, when was the first time that you saw or heard Megadeth and Dave's music? Like, when were you first exposed to it? Was it a video or a song? When did you first hear Megadeth or see them?
I was living in France at the time. I was about 14 or 15 years old, and I went to this little, I remember this really well, I went to this little kind of like market that's, you know, down the street in this little town where I lived outside of Paris. And there was a guy that had a few records, you know, so I went through them and like, you know, at the time you would buy records just based on the cover. It wasn't like, you know, you'd heard the band on YouTube or Spotify because none of that was around. So, and I just saw this, you know, this amazing cover of Peace Sells, right? Like this mesmerizing piece of art. And I was like, okay, taking that one, you know, and that was my first time hearing Megadeth. And I was a fan like from Wake Up Dead. That's it. Boom.
And Kiko, you being from Brazil, what was the first introduction for you there?
It was the music video, Peace House, yeah. And but in 92, right? 92, Rock in Rio 92, I was there in the crowd, like watching them playing Peace House tour, right? And the Painkiller with Judas Priest, Megadeth, Judas Priest was Guns N' Roses, right? Same night, yeah. Yeah, it was my experience to be there. Like, it was an amazing concert. Yeah, for sure.
And James, what about you? Do you remember your first Megadeth?
Well, it was definitely the MTV video of Peace Sells, without a doubt. And I just loved that song when I heard it because I couldn't place what it was supposed to be. Because to me, it had this great punk edge to it, which, you know, didn't sound familiar to me, like, you know, bands like Iron Maiden wouldn't even go in that direction. So it was really intriguing to me. But the one interesting thing is, like, at Lemoore, I don't know if you remember this, but before, like, the headlining band would come on, they'd always play the whole intro to In My Darkest Hour until the band was ready to go. And it was so funny because when I joined the band, you know, a lot of these songs, I said, I probably know about 4 or 5 of them, you know, and I'm going to just jump all over this. This is years ago. As soon as I heard that, I'd go, I totally know this one.
Yeah, it was either that or Accept Balls to the Wall. Those were always the two songs.
That's right,
we played.
that's right, yeah.
One or the other before.
But
the
that
band
was
came
far
out.
more elaborate than Balls to the Wall.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
without question, without question. All right, so we're going to get one more song in here, and this is a song from the new album, and it was the lead track that we got from the new record. And at the time we're doing this, you guys, Dave, you're currently on tour with Five Finger Death Punch, and I know you just worked this song into the set. Can you talk a little bit about We'll Be Back? It's an unbelievably blazing, ripping song. Tackling this and doing it live for the first time the other day, right? Is when you did it?
Yes. It's a difficult song to play because the guitar playing and singing, it's it's a left brain, right brain thing, and when you do this, you gotta separate your brain from one side to the other. So I'm singing and I'm playing, and I'm singing a line, and this line ends. The next line starts while it kind of steps on it. So there's a little overhang, and then there's a little bit of an anticipation with each line. So I've got to sing it very quickly, and then the time in between the last word of the line and the first word of the next line has to be minimal. So I've really got to shred on the singing part because it's so high right now, and it's only the second time we played it today. Usually we'll work out rehearsing it live, and then I'll try and start working through the singing part because it is difficult. And usually we'll try and get the chorus down. And right now I feel like the choruses are great. I know all the words to the verses, and now I just have to try and get my registry in the right area. Because, when you're in the studio and you're singing and it's digital, you can hear everything and it sounds wonderful. But when it's live, you've got so much outside ambient noise that changes things, so you don't necessarily, you don't get to hear things as well as you would in a controlled environment.
So this performance people are about to hear right now is the second time ever you've played this song.
Yeah.
Wow.
These songs, they were written in the studio. We didn't jam these out in a rehearsal room for 2 years before we went in the studio.
Right. Well, this is from the brand new Megadeth album, The Sick, the Dying, and the Dead, and this is called We'll Be Back. Here it is on Trunk Nation. I wanted to ask you, Dave, a little bit about your guitars because you are now working with Gibson, right? And you have a whole new line of instruments coming out. Can you talk a little bit about that and making the move to Gibson?
Yeah, I would love to. I had, ever since I got my first Kiss album, looked on the back where it says, Kiss uses Gibson and Pearl because they
drums,
want to
yeah.
use the best. And I thought, well, fuck, I want the best. and I went into the guitar stores and I saw the prices and I said, well, fuck, I want to steal one of these. So that's kind of how it went. I got my first Les Paul. I actually jumped through somebody's window and stole one. And after I became successful and I'd gotten sober, I went back to the guy and I said, you remember when you were younger and someone stole your copy guitar and your acoustic? Sorry. And I want to give you this in return. And I gave him one of my brand new Dean acoustic guitars and one of my brand new Dean VMNTs at the time. Totally made amends with the guy. And, I'm not going to say he kind of, upgraded, but in a very twisted way he did. He ended up, because the Les Paul that he had wasn't a real Gibson. So I've always wanted Gibson. And then when the time came to go there, I just left Dean and I heard Gibson was looking for somebody, and I thought, come on, man, because I wanted to go to them before, a long time ago, after I had left Jackson. That was the first company I went to. And something was wrong at the time. It just wasn't the right fit. And now it's perfect. I love these guys. And my guitars play like just unbelievable.
You have 3 signature models out now, right? Is that
Right.
correct?
Well,
3.
brands. The Gibson brand has Epiphone and Kramer also. So I'm an ambassador for all 3 guitar lines. And I have 2 signature models that we do. We do the Flying V right now, and the Explorer is the next one we're working on, because I liked taking their classic shapes and hot rodding the guitars. The Flying V only had 21 frets. I'm the first guy to ever make a 24 fret Flying V, and it was done by Jackson. So when I went to Gibson to do it, it was really hard. They're an institution to get them to change from 21 to 24, but they did, and the guitars are killer.
Yeah, they look very cool. I don't play, but I can tell you they look very cool. So
I can teach you.
Yeah, I'll take your lessons. That'll be
few
awesome.
times.
Let me get a few audience questions in here. Before I do that, though, I just want to ask you, as far as touring, at the time we're doing this, you're out with Five Finger. You recently did a tour with Lamb of God. Looking forward into the balance of this year and into next year, I imagine it's just a lot of road work. You're going to get out and play live as much as possible?
Yes, we've got dates booked almost till the very end of the year, and then we start up again at the beginning of the year. I think we're going down to the Pacific Rim, and then we've got European festivals at the latter part of the summer. I believe we're going to wrap up the end of the year with one of the new British heavy metal giants, and then that should carry on into 2024. So we're pretty booked until 2024, and I'm excited about it because we've got so many opportunities right now to get this record out to people. And each time we go out and we play one of those new tracks, people are seeing that this isn't a band that the guy can't sing anymore now, and he's got somebody behind the amps, or and one of those bands that has a guitar player behind the amps. We're out there and we're doing it for real.
Yeah, and thank you for doing that, because that's so important to me as a fan. That's awesome. All right, we're going to squeeze in a few audience questions with the time that we have here. And this one comes from Ezekiel Kaplan, who, are you in the room, Ezekiel? There's Ezekiel. Ezekiel wants to know, after nearly 40 years of writing music, how do you stay creatively inspired? And do you struggle as you get older to keep producing original creative ideas?
There's a bit of a struggle. I think the struggle isn't so much about coming up with new ideas. It's the struggle is coming up with something and not having come up with it before. All the good riffs are taken now, so you've got to really work hard. Yeah. Well, when I
Dave, right?
when I started, it was a lot easier because there weren't so many bands and there weren't so many songs. But the good thing about all these bands is they tune so low you can't tell what they're playing anyway. So there's a whole glut of great music out there. Just don't tune it up. What was the rest of your question?
Just wants to know, as you get older, if it's harder if you struggle to come up with original cool ideas.
At my age right now, I think that part of the coming up with it is so that I can say, I can do this and you can't, kind of thing. That's always been one of the things that motivated me. Like if someone said, you can't have this, and damn straight, I'm going to get that now. Or if they ever dared me or challenged me. We had a guy that works for us the first day of this tour, he challenged me. He said, well, then send me home. And I walked away from him and I went, bye-bye. He hasn't gone home yet, but he's going to.
Yeah, from this interview, he's just found out he's fired.
I don't know that he will. He might. Be better you tell him.
I'll break the news for you,
Okay,
Dave.
you do that.
Ezekiel also wanted to know real quickly if you still have your BC Rich bitch.
No, it got stolen. It's legendary. Not anymore. It's invisible.
This question comes from Gio. Gio, are you in the audience? Maybe Gio wrote it in. I'm not sure. How come you never play In My Darkest Hour live?
Well, we do. We just don't do it anymore. It depends on how long the set is. We're playing 55 minutes with Five Finger Death Punch. I'm sorry, but I did pretty good in math in my school years, and when you have so many songs, you have to start letting some of the other ones go. So if we played the same songs every tour, people would stop coming. And I believe that Wake Up Dead, In My Darkest Hour, Tornado of Souls, To Le Monde, these are all songs that should be played, but they've been played at every show. How do I not justify playing Hook and Mouth or Set the World Afire or Killing Is My Business or The Mechanics? There's so many other songs that, I could say, why aren't I playing this? Well, the truth of the matter, if you want to get down to brass tacks, it's whether I can reach the vocal parts. So that's really one of the most revealing, honest answers I can give you.
And speaking of Wake Up Dead, if people haven't heard this, there's a new recording of Wake Up Dead that you did with Lamb of God while you guys were on tour, which, if I'm not mistaken, everybody from each band had some participation in, right?
Yeah, I think so. You did.
Yes,
Did you all do something in there?
Some backing vocals.
That's what you did, Dirk?
Well, I did a solo. You did a solo too, yeah.
Yeah, that was
solo.
pre-James, but...
I sang along. I was there.
Oh, you were there? Were you in that one too? Okay. So that's really cool if you get a chance to check that out. Christina, who lives here in L.A., and she says, which song on the new album are you most personally connected to and why?
I'm connected to all of them. It's kind of a hard question to answer right now, given the amount of time we have left. There are some songs on there that have personal feelings, like Killing Time is a song that is about me getting rid of somebody in my life, and it's not Ellefson, so there's no digs there. But just somebody that I had been in a relationship with, and I had to, get rid of it because it was just so bad. Same thing with Soldier On. It's a different kind of approach, but it's another song about perseverance and victory over knowing something is bad for you and being able to walk away from it. Sometimes you're in a relationship with somebody and it's just bad for you, and you walk away from it and you feel better. It's going to hurt for a little while, but you feel better in the long run. That doesn't always happen, but a lot of times you're working with somebody and it's just not good for you and or your business, and you have to cut ties. So that song, Killing Time, was especially meaningful to me. I know if the guy that I wrote it about ever read it, he probably would cry like a baby. I mean, because he's the only one that knows it would be about him, and there's stuff in there that would really shock him. So, and it's not really that bad if you look at it. It's not like, like in Liar, what stuff I said about Chris, but whatever.
I want to go down the horn real quick, and starting with you, Dirk. Do you have a favorite song on this new record? One that really is one of your favorites?
Well, it's hard to pick one, but Life in Hell is one that I was very excited about because I got to co-write that with Dave, and so that was a musical contribution that I was a part of especially, and I think it turned out to be a great song too, so yeah, that's the one I'm most proud of.
Kiko, what about you? Do you have one or two favorite moments?
Yeah, like Dirk, the ones I co-wrote with Dave, We'll Be Back or Night Stalkers. But for me, like Dogs of Chernobyl, because it was the first song, right? I think it was the first concept. I remember you telling me about the story.
Yeah.
And then it's like when I saw the song was done, it's like, yeah, that's a good one. It was the perfect start for the album, yeah.
And James, are you up to speed on being able to play everything that they might
Yeah,
throw
I'm
at you
getting
from
there,
this
man.
record?
I'm getting there. But I have a unique perspective because I kind of came into this as a fan because I got to hear the whole record before it was even mastered, Mm-hmm. And I love Night Stalkers. I like Mission to Mars, a really quirky song. I think it's a very cool song.
This next question is from Christian Leva. I hope I'm saying that right. Glendora, California. Christian wants to know, with COVID-19 affecting the world, do you see a future for the Mega Cruise Part 2? Now, of course, Mega Cruise is a cruise that I hosted that unfortunately Dave was unable to actually be on because you were in the battle, your battle with cancer, so more than understandable that you couldn't be there. But would you like to do a Mega Cruise now that hopefully COVID is more behind us and you're healthy?
Yeah, well, you figure there are other things besides COVID on cruises. So
Right.
as long as it's a healthy cruise, because people get fucking Legionnaire's disease and all that other kind of stuff out there. How many times do you see these boats have been damn near shipwrecked offshore because they've got a bunch of zombies walking around on deck? That's not for me. If it's like the line that we used, we really, really tried to use a good boat. It was a special event, and I wanted so bad to be there. And everybody had such a great time from what I hear.
We missed you, but we had a good time.
Thank you. The quick answer is yes. There'll be another one at some point. Right now, we're talking about it, but we're trying to figure: should it be another thing in the West Coast? Should it be something on the East Coast? Should it be something up by Alaska? Should it be something going through all of the rivers in Europe? The only problem about Europe is the only cruise liners I've seen are those stupid little fucking Viking. The little what do they call those things? They're like the things.
It's like a paddle boat or something.
Drag cars?
In Holland. What are those?
Dracars? Are you talking about the Viking ships?
Well, the little ones.
Well, the
they look
Viking
like
ships
they
are
look
kind
like
of
the
metal.
canal boats.
It's like a
right? What do they call those canal boats?
Yeah, those.
Kind of. Different country. This is Holland, not Italy. So that seemed like it was a little bit hard to squeeze an ocean liner through some of those rivers. But, we just want to find the right thing. The possibility of a boot camp is closer than a cruise.
Okay.
We are getting ready to start a new plant at our vineyard. And last time when everybody came, we'd already planted. One of the things we want to do now is have an invitation to the fans to be part of the vineyard and to help us plant, come back and stay and help us, pick, do all that kind of stuff. It's like a horticultural event, vacation kind of thing. So that's one of the things that we were thinking about with the boot camp is doing it around the plant, which I think would be really amazing because the vines live for hundreds of years, and you guys would be able to leave a legacy behind after if you do join us for the plant. And the other thing too is it's on a farm, so it's big enough that we can play and have a good old time.
Yeah, for sure. One final question here, and then we got to wrap up with one last song. This is pretty funny, actually. This is Chris in Venice, California, and Chris's question, he says, what's the best story about you that you don't remember doing but were told you did? I imagine there's got to be something in there. back in the days before you were sober Dave Mustaine.
Yeah, even sober Dave Mustaine sometimes. The craziest thing I was told that I did that I don't remember doing was the end of the Antrim thing. I was not really a blackout drinker, but my tolerance was legendary, and so there wasn't really a lot that I've forgotten. I would say that I'm probably wide open for a lot of people sharing with me and saying, yeah, you probably don't remember this, but one thing I do remember was I went to the Troubadour with somebody, and I was told that the guy asked if I wanted a drink, and I said, yeah, of course. And I ordered a shot of XO Courvoisier. And it's what I drank, so I just figured, yeah, I'll have XO brandy. And I walked away, and the guy came up to me a couple years later, I guess. He was at a NAMM show, and he goes, that drink I bought you cost $50. And I went, yeah, that's what they cost, right? And I didn't even think for a second that, dude, you're going to go spend more money than he'll probably spend on beer all night on one shot. So that made me feel a little shitty. So, but the Antrim one's probably the best.
Yeah. The record's incredible. It's out there now. Everybody go check it out. There's also, we didn't get a chance to touch on this, but real quickly, there's 2 cover songs that are included. There are various formats of the record. One of the covers is a cover of a deep track from Sammy Hagar, which is so cool that you did this Planets on Fire, that Sammy's actually on that track with you, right?
Yeah. Singer from Montrose and Van Halen, frontman of Sammy Hagar Group.
Yeah, but that's a cool deep track.
That was a great song.
Were you a fan, imagine, of the solo records?
I played that song in Panic before I went to those other guys. And if I would, I'm just thinking, what would have happened if I would have brought This Planet's on Fire with me to that band? How Sammy may have influenced Metallica back in the day. I mean, he certainly influenced me, and I don't know why we didn't ever play that song, because it's a great song. Any of you guys heard that song?
It's heavy.
So one guy. Anybody else heard? 2 guys? Okay. Yeah, it's 3 people. Okay. I'll stop counting now.
And there's a Dead Kennedys cover on the record as well, right?
Right.
So you've got a Sammy Hagar. There's the gamut right there with Sammy on it, a Dead Kennedys cover. And you can get the record in every format, including cassette.
Right.
I mean, we are going back to 19...
No 8-track
No 8-track yet, but I'm sure it's coming. Yes, I'm sure it's coming. It's great stuff. Dirk, Kiko, James, Dave, thank you so much. Congrats on the new record. It's incredible. Safe travels out there on the tour. And anybody that knows anything about Megadeth, you know the song that we're ending with, because it's the song you kind of have to end every show with this, don't you? It's
pretty much. I think that there's a couple contenders on this new record that may displace Holy Wars.
Wow. Well, that's going to be a tall order, but the record is killer, so we'll see. I want to thank everybody in our audience who came out, and, of course, all of our SiriusXM team here in Los Angeles. And, again, mostly big thanks to Megadeth. Thank you guys for doing this. I appreciate it. Everybody pick up the new record. And to close it, you heard Dave just say it. You know what it is. A little Holy Wars taking us out. Thank you so much for listening, everybody.
Thank you.